Question 1. Governance review demonstrates that a new feature is to be implemented in an oracle9i Forms application. The developer is aware that this new feature involves user input and data manipulation. What is the most prudent approach to ensure the integrity and security of the application during and after the implementation of this new feature? Option A. Implement the new feature solely based on the functional requirements, without any specific consideration for security or data integrity, as the primary goal is to deliver the requested functionality. Option B. Conduct a thorough risk assessment to identify potential security vulnerabilities and data integrity issues related to the new feature, and implement appropriate mitigation strategies before and during development. Option C. Rely on the application's existing security configurations to protect against any new vulnerabilities introduced by the feature, without performing any specific analysis of the new feature's impact. Option D. Proceed with the implementation of the new feature as quickly as possible to meet the project deadline, assuming oracle9i Forms has built-in security measures that will handle any potential issues. Correct answer is B. Conduct a thorough risk assessment to identify potential security vulnerabilities and data integrity issues related to the new feature, and implement appropriate mitigation strategies before and during development. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because the developer is tasked with implementing a new feature in oracle9i Forms that has potential security implications. The challenge lies in balancing the functional requirements of the new feature with the need to maintain the integrity and security of the application, especially considering the specific regulatory framework for the 1Z0-140 oracle9i Forms developer exam, which implies adherence to best practices in application development within that Oracle version's context. Careful judgment is required to ensure that the implementation does not introduce vulnerabilities that could be exploited. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes a thorough understanding of the new feature's impact on the application's security posture before deployment. This proactive risk assessment aligns with the principles of secure software development, which are implicitly expected in professional Oracle development. By analyzing potential risks, the developer can implement appropriate mitigation strategies, such as input validation, error handling, and access control, thereby safeguarding the application and its data. This approach ensures compliance with the spirit of secure coding practices, even if specific external regulations are not explicitly detailed for this exam context. An incorrect approach that involves immediately implementing the feature without considering its security implications represents a significant regulatory and ethical failure. It demonstrates negligence and a disregard for the potential harm that insecure code can cause, such as data breaches or unauthorized access. This failure to perform due diligence violates the implicit professional obligation to deliver secure and reliable software. Another incorrect approach, which is to assume that oracle9i Forms inherently handles all security concerns for new features, is also a failure. This assumption leads to complacency and a lack of critical evaluation, potentially leaving the application exposed. Professional developers must actively assess the security implications of their work, rather than relying on assumptions about the platform's built-in protections. A third incorrect approach, focusing solely on meeting the functional requirements without any consideration for performance or scalability, while not directly a security failure, is still professionally deficient. While the question focuses on risk assessment, a complete professional approach would also consider these aspects. However, in the context of risk assessment, ignoring potential security risks is the primary failure. The professional reasoning process for similar situations should involve a structured approach. 1. Understand the requirements thoroughly, including any potential side effects or implications. 2. Identify potential risks associated with the implementation, particularly in areas of security, performance, and data integrity. 3. Evaluate the likelihood and impact of each identified risk. 4. Develop and implement mitigation strategies for high-priority risks. 5. Test the implementation rigorously, including security testing, to ensure that risks have been adequately addressed. 6. Document the risk assessment and mitigation process. Question 2. To address the challenge of assessing the potential risks associated with implementing a new feature in an oracle9i Forms application, which of the following approaches would be considered the most professionally sound and effective? Option A. Prioritize rapid deployment of the new feature by minimizing testing and risk assessment activities to meet aggressive deadlines. Option B. Rely on the developer's intuition and past experience with similar features to gauge the level of risk without formal documentation. Option C. Focus exclusively on the functional requirements of the new feature, assuming that if it meets the user's immediate needs, the risks are minimal. Option D. Conduct a comprehensive review of the new feature's code, analyze its interaction with existing database objects and application logic, and evaluate potential impacts on data integrity and user security. The correct answer is D. Conduct a comprehensive review of the new feature's code, analyze its interaction with existing database objects and application logic, and evaluate potential impacts on data integrity and user security. Explanation. This scenario is professionally challenging because the oracle9i Forms developer is tasked with assessing the risk associated with a new feature implementation without a clear, predefined risk assessment methodology. The challenge lies in ensuring that the assessment is comprehensive, objective, and aligns with best practices for software development and data handling, even in the absence of explicit regulatory mandates for this specific type of internal development risk. The developer must balance technical feasibility with potential business impact and security considerations. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it involves a structured, multifaceted evaluation that considers both the technical implementation and its potential downstream effects. This systematic process ensures that potential vulnerabilities are identified early, allowing for mitigation strategies to be developed before deployment. It aligns with general principles of quality assurance and responsible software development, which are implicitly expected in professional settings, even if not explicitly codified by a specific oracle9i Forms developer regulation. This approach fosters a proactive stance towards risk management, minimizing the likelihood of costly rework or security breaches. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on the technical implementation of the new feature, without considering its integration into the existing application or its impact on data integrity, represents a significant regulatory and ethical failure. It demonstrates a lack of due diligence and a failure to uphold professional standards of care. Such an approach could lead to unforeseen bugs, data corruption, or security vulnerabilities, potentially violating implicit professional obligations to deliver reliable and secure software. Another incorrect approach that relies on anecdotal evidence or the opinions of a single team member without a formal assessment process is also professionally unacceptable. This method is subjective, prone to bias, and lacks the rigor required for effective risk management. It fails to provide a defensible basis for decision-making and could expose the organization to undue risk. Ethically, it represents a failure to apply professional judgment and a disregard for systematic evaluation. A third incorrect approach that prioritizes speed of development over thorough risk assessment by skipping critical testing phases is a direct contravention of professional responsibility. This haste can lead to the introduction of defects that could have been identified and resolved through proper risk mitigation. It demonstrates a disregard for the quality and reliability of the product, which can have serious consequences for end users and the business. The professional reasoning process for similar situations should involve establishing a clear risk assessment framework, even if it's an internal one. This framework should include steps for identifying potential risks, analyzing their likelihood and impact, evaluating existing controls, and determining appropriate mitigation strategies. Professionals should always prioritize a systematic and objective approach, seeking input from relevant stakeholders and documenting their findings and decisions. When in doubt, consulting with senior developers, architects, or security specialists is a crucial part of responsible decision-making. Question 3. System analysis indicates that the introduction of new features in an oracle9i Forms application requires a structured approach to ensure stability and reliability. Which of the following strategies best addresses the potential challenges associated with integrating these new functionalities? Option A. Proceed with the implementation of new features as quickly as possible, relying on end users to report any problems encountered after deployment. Option B. Conduct a thorough risk assessment, documenting potential issues, their likelihood, impact, and developing mitigation plans before and during the implementation of new features. Option C. Implement new features without any formal documentation or analysis, assuming that the oracle9i forms environment is inherently robust enough to handle any changes. Option D. Focus exclusively on the technical coding aspects of the new features, assuming that any integration issues will resolve themselves. The correct answer is B. Conduct a thorough risk assessment, documenting potential issues, their likelihood, impact, and developing mitigation plans before and during the implementation of new features. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a professional challenge in the context of oracle9i forms development, specifically concerning risk assessment during the implementation of new features. The challenge lies in balancing the introduction of innovative functionality with the inherent risks of introducing defects, performance degradation, or security vulnerabilities. Developers must exercise careful judgment to ensure that the benefits of new features outweigh the potential negative impacts on the application's stability and user experience. The regulatory framework for this exam: 1Z0-140 oracle9i forms developer. New features implicitly guides developers to adhere to best practices in software development lifecycle management, which includes robust risk assessment. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a systematic and proactive identification, analysis, and mitigation of potential risks associated with the new features. This aligns with general software engineering principles and the implicit requirements of developing robust applications. By documenting identified risks, assessing their likelihood and impact, and developing mitigation strategies, developers ensure that potential issues are addressed before they manifest in production. This proactive stance minimizes disruption, maintains application integrity, and ultimately leads to a more reliable and secure application, which is a cornerstone of professional software development. While no specific oracle9i forms regulations are cited, the exam's focus on new features implies a need for careful integration and validation, which inherently requires risk management. Incorrect approach is analysis. Implementing new features without any form of risk assessment is a direct failure to adhere to professional software development standards. This approach introduces an unacceptable level of uncertainty and potential for critical failures. It is professionally unacceptable because it prioritizes speed or perceived simplicity over application stability and user trust. Such an approach could lead to significant post-deployment issues, requiring costly and time-consuming fixes, and potentially damaging the reputation of the development team and the application. Focusing solely on the technical implementation of new features without considering their broader impact on the existing system's performance or security is also a flawed approach. This narrow focus neglects potential integration issues, resource contention, or the introduction of new attack vectors. It is ethically questionable, as it fails to consider the full scope of responsibility for delivering a secure and performant application. Relying entirely on end-user feedback to identify issues after deployment is a reactive and inefficient strategy. While user feedback is valuable, it should supplement, not replace, proactive risk assessment. This approach places an undue burden on users to discover and report problems, which is unprofessional and can lead to widespread dissatisfaction and data integrity issues. Professional reasoning. Professionals should adopt a structured risk management process. This involves 1. Identifying potential risks during the design and development phases of new features. 2. Analyzing the likelihood and potential impact of each identified risk. 3. Prioritizing risks based on their severity. 4. Developing and implementing mitigation strategies for high-priority risks. 5. Regularly reviewing and updating the risk assessment throughout the development lifecycle. This systematic approach ensures that potential problems are anticipated and addressed, leading to higher quality software and a more professional development outcome. Question 4. Stakeholder feedback indicates a strong desire for several new features to be integrated into the oracle9i forms application, with an emphasis on rapid deployment to capture market advantage. As the developer responsible for these new features, what is the most prudent approach to ensure both timely delivery and application stability, considering the potential for unforeseen issues? Option A. Rely on informal discussions with key stakeholders to gauge the perceived readiness of the new features, assuming their input is sufficient to proceed with a full rollout. Option B. Prioritize the technical implementation of the new features, focusing on meeting the functional requirements as quickly as possible, and address any integration or stability issues post-deployment. Option C. Immediately deploy the new features to a limited set of users for initial feedback, assuming that any critical issues will be quickly identified and resolved. Option D. Conduct a thorough risk assessment for each new feature, identifying potential impacts on existing functionality, performance, and security, and develop mitigation strategies before proceeding with deployment. Correct answer is D. Conduct a thorough risk assessment for each new feature, identifying potential impacts on existing functionality, performance, and security, and develop mitigation strategies before proceeding with deployment. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires balancing the need for rapid development of new features with the inherent risks associated with introducing untested functionalities into a production environment. The core of the challenge lies in the developer's responsibility to ensure the stability and integrity of the application while responding to stakeholder demands. Careful judgment is required to avoid introducing regressions or security vulnerabilities that could impact users. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes a structured and controlled release process. By implementing a comprehensive risk assessment that involves identifying potential issues, evaluating their impact, and devising mitigation strategies before deployment, the developer adheres to principles of quality assurance and responsible software engineering. This proactive stance minimizes the likelihood of negative consequences, protects the application's reputation, and ensures compliance with implicit expectations of reliability and security. Even if not explicitly codified in the 1Z0-140 syllabus itself, these are foundational to professional development. An incorrect approach that bypasses thorough risk assessment and proceeds with immediate deployment of new features without adequate testing is professionally unacceptable. This failure to identify and mitigate potential risks constitutes a breach of professional duty. It can lead to significant application downtime, data corruption, or security breaches, all of which can have severe financial and reputational repercussions for the organization. Such an approach disregards the fundamental principle of delivering robust and reliable software. Another incorrect approach that focuses solely on the technical implementation of the new features without considering their integration into the existing system or potential user impact is also flawed. This narrow focus ignores the broader context of software development, where functionality must be evaluated within the ecosystem of the application and its user base. This oversight can lead to unexpected conflicts, performance degradation, or a poor user experience, all of which are detrimental. A third incorrect approach that relies on anecdotal evidence or informal feedback from a limited number of users to gauge the readiness of new features is insufficient. While user feedback is valuable, it is not a substitute for systematic risk assessment and testing. This approach risks overlooking critical issues that might only become apparent under broader usage or specific conditions, thereby exposing the application and its users to unnecessary risks. The professional reasoning process for similar situations should involve a systematic approach to software development. This includes understanding stakeholder requirements, performing thorough design and analysis, implementing robust testing methodologies, unit, integration, system, and user acceptance testing, conducting a formal risk assessment for new features, and establishing a controlled deployment process with rollback capabilities. Prioritizing quality and stability over speed is paramount, and any deviation from this principle should be carefully justified and documented. Question 5. The performance metrics show a slight increase in query response times after the introduction of a new oracle9i Forms feature designed to enhance user interaction. The development team is debating the next steps. Which approach best balances the adoption of new features with application stability and user experience? Option A. Document the performance impact and postpone the decision to implement the feature indefinitely until a perfect, zero-impact solution can be found. Option B. Conduct a phased rollout of the new feature to a subset of users, closely monitoring performance and gathering feedback before a full deployment. Option C. Immediately roll back the new feature to all users to restore original performance levels. Option D. Implement the new feature across all user environments without further testing, assuming the performance impact is acceptable. The correct answer is C. Immediately roll back the new feature to all users to restore original performance levels. Explanation. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires a developer to balance the introduction of new features with the potential impact on application performance and maintainability, all within the context of Oracle 9i Forms development. The exam syllabus for 1Z0-140 focuses on new features, implying the adoption of these features is a key objective. However, best professional practice dictates that the adoption of new features should not compromise the stability or efficiency of the application, especially in a production environment. Developers must critically evaluate the benefits of new features against their potential drawbacks. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes a thorough, controlled evaluation of the new feature's impact before widespread implementation. This involves a staged rollout, starting with a representative subset of users or a non-critical environment. This methodology aligns with principles of risk management and quality assurance, ensuring that any unforeseen issues are identified and resolved with minimal disruption. In the context of Oracle 9i Forms development, this methodical approach helps prevent performance degradation, data integrity issues, or unexpected behavior that could affect end users and require costly remediation. It also allows for the collection of empirical data to justify the feature's adoption or to inform adjustments. An incorrect approach that immediately deploys the new feature to all users without prior testing or a phased rollout represents a significant professional failure. This bypasses essential quality control steps, exposing the entire user base to potential performance problems or bugs. This could lead to decreased productivity, user dissatisfaction, and a loss of confidence in the application and the development team. Ethically, it is a failure to uphold the responsibility of delivering a reliable and functional product. Another incorrect approach, which is to completely disregard the new feature due to a perceived risk without proper investigation, is also professionally suboptimal. While caution is warranted, outright dismissal without understanding the feature's benefits and potential mitigation strategies for its risks is not a proactive or informed decision. It can lead to missed opportunities for improving application functionality and efficiency, potentially leaving the application behind in terms of modern development practices available within the Oracle 9i Forms environment. This can also be seen as a failure to stay current with the technology and its advancements. A professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a structured evaluation framework. This includes understanding the business need or benefit the new feature aims to address, researching the feature's technical specifications and known limitations, conducting a proof of concept or pilot test in a controlled environment, assessing the performance and stability impact through monitoring and testing, developing a rollback plan, and finally, implementing a phased rollout with continuous monitoring. This systematic approach ensures that decisions are data-driven, risk-aware, and aligned with the goal of delivering high-quality software. Question 6. Consider a scenario where a new Oracle 9i Forms application requires displaying a complex aggregated dataset that involves joining multiple tables and applying intricate filtering logic. The development team needs to decide on the most effective and maintainable method for retrieving and presenting this data within the form. Option A. Create a separate, standalone Java application to handle all data retrieval and aggregation, and then pass the results to the Oracle form via a custom interface. Option B. Embed the entire complex SQL query directly within the WhenValidateItem trigger of a form field, using dynamic SQL to fetch and display the data. Option C. Utilize client-side PL/SQL within the form to perform all table joins and filtering operations, fetching raw data from individual tables. Option D. Implement the complex data retrieval logic using stored procedures in the database, and then call these procedures from the Oracle Forms triggers to populate the form blocks. The correct answer is D. Implement the complex data retrieval logic using stored procedures in the database, and then call these procedures from the Oracle Forms triggers to populate the form blocks. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge related to the implementation of new features in Oracle 9i Forms, specifically concerning the efficient and maintainable handling of complex data retrieval and display. The challenge lies in balancing the immediate need for functionality with long-term considerations of performance, code readability, and adherence to best practices for the given Oracle 9i Forms developer context. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it leverages the specific capabilities introduced in oracle9i forms for improved data handling, such as the use of database triggers for complex data manipulation or stored procedures for encapsulating business logic. This promotes modularity, reusability, and separation of concerns, leading to more maintainable and scalable applications. Adhering to the oracle9i forms developer guidelines for this version ensures that the implemented features are compatible, performant, and align with the intended architectural patterns of the time. An incorrect approach that directly embeds complex SQL queries within form triggers without proper encapsulation or optimization would fail to meet professional standards. This can lead to performance degradation, difficulty in debugging, and increased maintenance overhead as the complexity of the form grows. Furthermore, it violates the principle of separating data manipulation logic from presentation logic, making the form brittle and harder to update. Another incorrect approach, such as relying solely on client-side PL/SQL for extensive data processing, would be inefficient and bypass the robust data processing capabilities of the Oracle database, leading to potential performance bottlenecks and security vulnerabilities. This approach ignores the strengths of the database layer for data-intensive operations. The professional decision-making process for similar situations involves a thorough understanding of the oracle9i forms architecture and its supported features. Developers should first analyze the requirements to determine the most appropriate layer for implementation, database vs. application. They should then evaluate potential solutions against criteria such as performance, maintainability, reusability, and adherence to establish best practices for the specific Oracle version. Prioritizing solutions that encapsulate logic, optimize database interactions, and promote code clarity is crucial for delivering robust and sustainable applications. Question 7. The investigation demonstrates that a critical business process requires the execution of a complex PL/SQL package from an oracle9i form. The package is designed to perform data validation and transformation before committing changes to the database. The developer needs to implement this functionality in a way that is robust, secure, and provides clear feedback to the user, leveraging the new features available in oracle9i forms. Which approach best addresses these requirements? Option A. Create a new, dedicated Oracle form that accepts necessary parameters, calls the PL/SQL package, and then displays the results or any error messages to the user. Option B. Embed the entire PL/SQL package code directly within the triggers of the existing Oracle form. Option C. Execute the PL/SQL package without implementing any specific error handling or validation within the form's triggers. Option D. Attempt to execute the PL/SQL package directly from client-side JavaScript within the Oracle form. The correct answer is A. Create a new, dedicated Oracle form that accepts necessary parameters, calls the PL/SQL package, and then displays the results or any error messages to the user. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge in Oracle Forms development, where a developer needs to implement a feature that interacts with external data sources, specifically a PL/SQL package. The challenge lies in ensuring that the implementation adheres to best practices for data integrity, security, and performance, all while leveraging the new features introduced in oracle9i forms. The need to handle potential errors gracefully and provide meaningful feedback to the user without exposing underlying database issues is paramount. Furthermore, the developer must consider the impact of the chosen approach on the overall application stability and maintainability. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves using the form's built-in call form or open form built-in packages to navigate to a new form that encapsulates the PL/SQL package execution. This new form would be designed to accept parameters, execute the PL/SQL package, and then display the results or any error messages in a user-friendly manner. This method promotes modularity and separation of concerns. PL/SQL package, being a self-contained unit of code, can be thoroughly tested independently. By calling it from a dedicated form, the main form remains cleaner and focused on its primary user interface tasks. Error handling within the dedicated form can be robust, catching exceptions from the PL/SQL package and presenting them to the user in a controlled and understandable way, thus preventing the exposure of raw database errors. This aligns with the principle of robust application design and user experience, ensuring that the application is both functional and reliable. Incorrect approach is analysis. Directly embedding PL/SQL code within triggers of the main form, especially for complex operations like executing a package, is an incorrect approach. This violates the principle of modularity and makes the form code difficult to read, debug, and maintain. If the PL/SQL package is complex, embedding it directly can lead to unwieldy trigger code. Furthermore, error handling becomes more challenging, potentially leading to the display of cryptic database error messages to the end user, which is a significant security and user experience failure. Another incorrect approach would be to bypass forms built-ins and attempt to execute the PL/SQL package directly from client-side JavaScript or other non-supported methods within the form's environment. This is not only technically infeasible within the Oracle Forms architecture, but also a severe security risk, potentially opening the application to injection attacks and data corruption. It completely disregards the established security and execution model of Oracle Forms. Finally, attempting to execute the PL/SQL package without any error handling or validation mechanisms in place is a critical failure. This can lead to data corruption, application crashes, and a poor user experience if the package encounters an unexpected condition. It demonstrates a lack of due diligence in ensuring application stability and data integrity. Professional reasoning. Professionals should approach this by first understanding the core functionality required and identifying the most appropriate Oracle Forms built-in mechanisms for interacting with PL/SQL. The decision-making process should prioritize modularity, error handling, security, and maintainability. When faced with integrating external code like a PL/SQL package, the professional should consider creating separate, dedicated forms or modules to encapsulate this logic. This promotes a cleaner architecture and allows for more targeted testing and debugging. Thoroughly documenting the integration points and error handling strategies is also crucial for long-term project success. The professional should always consider the end-user experience and security implications of any implementation choice. Question 8. Upon reviewing the requirements for a new user profile feature in an oracle9i Forms application, the development team has identified that certain user-provided information, such as security questions and answers, must be stored. The team is debating the most secure and compliant method for handling this sensitive data within the application's database. Option A. Store the sensitive user data as plain text directly within the main user table. Option B. Utilize a temporary table for storing the sensitive user data during processing, with no specific measures for secure deletion after use. Option C. Store the sensitive user data in a dedicated, encrypted table with access restricted to specific authorized database procedures. Option D. Embed the sensitive user data as a serialized blob within a generic configuration table, without encryption. The correct answer is C. Store the sensitive user data in a dedicated, encrypted table with access restricted to specific, authorized database procedures. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a professional challenge because the developer is tasked with implementing a new feature in oracle9i Forms that involves handling sensitive user data. The core of the challenge lies in balancing the functional requirements of the new feature with the imperative to protect user privacy and comply with data handling regulations. The developer must make a critical decision regarding how to store and access this data, directly impacting security and potential compliance breaches. The need for a robust and secure implementation is paramount, as a misstep could lead to significant data exposure and legal repercussions. Correct approach analysis. Storing sensitive user data in a secure, encrypted format within a dedicated table, accessible only through specific, authorized procedures, represents best professional practice. This approach aligns with the principles of data minimization and secure storage mandated by data protection regulations. Encryption ensures that even if the data is accessed without authorization, it remains unreadable. The use of dedicated tables and authorized procedures enforces access control, limiting exposure to only necessary personnel and processes. This adheres to the principle of least privilege, a cornerstone of information security and regulatory compliance. Incorrect approaches analysis. Storing sensitive user data directly in a plain text field within the main user table is a significant regulatory and ethical failure. This approach violates fundamental data protection principles by failing to secure sensitive information, making it vulnerable to unauthorized access and disclosure. It directly contravenes regulations that mandate the protection of personal data. Embedding sensitive user data as a serialized blob within a generic configuration table, without any form of encryption or clear access control mechanisms, is also professionally unacceptable. It might seem like a way to consolidate data, it creates a single point of vulnerability. Without encryption, the data is exposed, and without specific access controls, it can be accessed by any process that can read the configuration table, leading to potential data breaches and non-compliance with data security mandates. Using a temporary table to store sensitive user data during processing, without ensuring its secure deletion or anonymization after use, poses a risk of data leakage. Temporary data, if not handled with the same rigor as permanent data, can be inadvertently exposed or retained longer than necessary, increasing the attack surface and potentially violating data retention policies and privacy regulations. Professional reasoning. Professionals should approach such implementation challenges by first identifying the sensitivity of the data involved. This requires understanding the potential impact of a data breach. Next, they must consult relevant data protection guidelines and regulations applicable to their jurisdiction. The principle of security by design should guide the implementation, meaning security measures are integrated from the outset, not added as an afterthought. This involves evaluating different storage and access mechanisms, prioritizing those that offer robust encryption, strict access controls, and adherence to data minimization principles. When in doubt, seeking guidance from security experts or legal counsel specializing in data privacy is a crucial step in ensuring compliance and ethical practice. Question 9. Operational review demonstrates that the new transactional control features introduced in oracle9i forms are not being fully leveraged, leading to potential data inconsistencies and a less responsive user experience during complex operations. The development team is considering several approaches to address this. Option A. Develop a comprehensive training program for all end users on the new transactional features, expecting them to adapt their workflows to accommodate the changes without further technical adjustments to the forms. Option B. Revert to the previous transactional handling methods to avoid any potential disruption and postpone the exploration of new features until a later, less critical development cycle. Option C. Immediately deploy all new transactional features across the entire application to ensure all users benefit from the enhancements as quickly as possible, assuming existing error handling mechanisms will manage any unforeseen issues. Option D. Implement the new transactional features incrementally, focusing on modules with the highest risk of data inconsistency, and establish a dedicated feedback channel for end users to report any issues or suggest improvements during the phased rollout. The correct answer is D. Implement the new transactional features incrementally, focusing on modules with the highest risk of data inconsistency, and establish a dedicated feedback channel for end users to report any issues or suggest improvements during the phased rollout. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a professional challenge in managing the implementation of new features within oracle9i forms, specifically concerning the handling of transactional integrity and user feedback mechanisms. The core difficulty lies in balancing the introduction of new functionalities with the need to maintain data consistency and provide a responsive user experience, all while adhering to the implicit professional standards of software development and data management. The pressure to deliver new features quickly can sometimes lead to overlooking critical aspects of how these features interact with existing transactional logic and how users will perceive and utilize them. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a phased rollout and rigorous testing of the new transactional features, coupled with a mechanism for capturing and acting upon user feedback. This aligns with best professional practices in software development, emphasizing quality assurance and user-centric design. Specifically, for oracle9i forms, this means leveraging the new features for improved transactional control e.g., enhanced commit/rollback capabilities, better error handling within transactions, and ensuring these are thoroughly tested in various scenarios before full deployment. The inclusion of a feedback loop allows for iterative refinement, addressing any unforeseen issues or usability concerns that arise post-implementation. This proactive and iterative approach minimizes risk, ensures data integrity, and ultimately leads to a more robust and user-accepted application. Incorrect approach is analysis. Implementing new transactional features without comprehensive testing of their impact on existing data integrity is a significant regulatory and ethical failure. This can lead to data corruption, inconsistent states, and potential financial or operational losses for the business, violating the implicit professional duty to deliver reliable software. Similarly, deploying new features without a clear mechanism for user feedback or error reporting creates a blind spot. It prevents timely identification and resolution of issues, potentially leading to prolonged periods of suboptimal application performance or incorrect data handling, which is professionally irresponsible. Rushing to deploy new features without understanding their full transactional implications, or assuming existing error handling will suffice for new functionalities, demonstrates a lack of due diligence and a disregard for the potential negative consequences on data and users. Professional reasoning. Professionals should approach the implementation of new features by first thoroughly understanding the new functionalities and their potential impact on the existing application architecture, particularly transactional integrity. This involves detailed analysis of the Oracle 9i Forms new features syllabus, focusing on how they alter or enhance commit, rollback, and error handling mechanisms. A structured testing plan, including unit, integration, and user acceptance testing, is paramount. Furthermore, establishing clear communication channels with end users and stakeholders for feedback and issue reporting is crucial for continuous improvement and risk mitigation. The decision-making process should prioritize data integrity, application stability, and user satisfaction over speed of delivery. Question 10. Examination of the data shows that a new requirement for the Oracle 9i Forms application is to display a randomly generated number within a form field when a specific button is pressed. The developer needs to implement this functionality efficiently and in a manner consistent with Oracle 9i Forms development best practices. Which approach should be taken to generate and display this random number? Option A. Employ a client-side JavaScript function executed via the WebUtil library to generate the random number. Option B. Implement a database trigger that generates a random number and populates a hidden column when a new record is inserted. Option C. Create a custom PL/SQL function that implements a pseudo-random number generation algorithm. Option D. Utilize the DBMS random package within a PL/SQL trigger associated with the buttons when button pressed event. The correct answer is D. Utilize the DBMS random package within a PL/SQL trigger associated with the buttons when button pressed event. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge in Oracle Forms development where a developer needs to implement a new feature that interacts with existing database objects. The challenge lies in ensuring that the implementation adheres to the specific features and best practices introduced with Oracle 9i Forms, particularly concerning the use of built-in packages and PL/SQL. The developer must balance the need for functionality with the constraints and recommended approaches of the specified Oracle version to avoid performance issues, maintainability problems, and potential compatibility risks with future upgrades. The professional challenge is to select an implementation strategy that leverages the new features effectively, while remaining within the established architectural patterns of Oracle 9i Forms. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves utilizing the DBMS random package, Oracle 9i Forms, as part of the Oracle 9i database and application development suite, fully supports and encourages the use of built-in PL/SQL packages for common tasks. DBMS Random is the standard Oracle-provided package for generating pseudo-random numbers. Its use is considered best professional practice because it is a well-tested, efficient, and reliable component of the Oracle database. Adhering to Oracle's provided packages ensures compatibility, maintainability, and leverages the optimized code within the database kernel. This approach aligns with the principle of using standard, documented features for predictable and robust application behavior, which is implicitly expected within the scope of the 1Z0-140 exam's focus on Oracle 9i Forms new features and best practices. Incorrect approach is analysis. Implementing a custom PL/SQL function to generate random numbers is professionally unacceptable because it duplicates functionality already provided by Oracle. This introduces unnecessary complexity, increases the maintenance burden, and potentially leads to less efficient or less cryptographically secure random number generation compared to the optimized DBMS random package. It also deviates from the principle of leveraging existing, robust Oracle features, which is a core tenet of professional Oracle development. Using a client-side JavaScript function within a web-deployed Oracle form to generate random numbers is also professionally unacceptable. Oracle forms can integrate with client-side technologies, relying on client-side logic for core data generation or manipulation, introduces dependencies on the client environment, potential security vulnerabilities, and complicates debugging and deployment. Furthermore, it bypasses the server-side processing capabilities of Oracle Forms and the database, which is generally not the preferred architecture for data-centric operations. This approach fails to leverage the server-side power and integration capabilities that oracle9i Forms is designed to utilize. Creating a database trigger that generates a random number upon row insertion is professionally unacceptable for this specific requirement. While triggers are powerful, using them solely for generating a random value to be displayed or used within the form's logic is an over-application of the technology. Triggers are best suited for enforcing data integrity, auditing, or automating database-level actions. Introducing random number generation within a trigger for form-level use can obscure the logic, make debugging harder, and potentially lead to unexpected side effects if the trigger's execution context is not fully understood. It also couples the random number generation too tightly to database events, rather than making it a controlled, form-driven operation. Professional reasoning. Professionals should approach implementation challenges by first identifying if the required functionality is already addressed by standard Oracle features or packages. The decision-making process involves evaluating the benefits of using existing, well-supported components against the costs and risks of custom development. In this case, the availability of DBMS Random makes it the clear choice. When considering custom solutions, developers must assess their impact on maintainability, performance, security, and compatibility. The professional decision-making framework prioritizes leveraging the platform's strengths and adhering to its recommended practices to ensure robust, scalable, and supportable applications. Question 11. Performance analysis shows that a recently developed oracle9i form, designed to process critical financial transactions, exhibits a subtle but recurring pattern of data inconsistency under specific, albeit infrequent, load conditions. The developer has identified the root cause as a potential race condition in a PL/SQL trigger that is not consistently locking records during concurrent updates. While the issue has not yet led to any reported financial losses or major system failures, the developer foresees that prolonged operation under these conditions could lead to cumulative data corruption. The project is under significant time pressure to meet a go-live deadline. What is the most professionally responsible course of action for the developer? Option A. Downplay the severity of the data inconsistency to the project manager, framing it as a minor anomaly unlikely to impact critical operations. Option B. Attempt to implement a fix for the race condition discreetly without informing the project manager, to avoid causing alarm or delaying the project. Option C. Immediately report the identified race condition and its potential implications to the project manager, recommending a prioritized fix before the go-live date. Option D. Continue development and deployment as scheduled, hoping the issue does not manifest significantly before the deadline and can be addressed in a post-release patch. The correct answer is C. Immediately report the identified race condition and its potential implications to the project manager, recommending a prioritized fix before the go-live date. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a professional challenge rooted in the ethical obligation to maintain data integrity and user trust within the context of oracle9i Forms development. The developer is aware of a potential data corruption issue that, while not immediately catastrophic, could lead to subtle inaccuracies over time. The pressure to meet deadlines, coupled with the desire to avoid admitting a flaw that might reflect poorly on their work, creates a conflict between professional responsibility and personal/project expediency. The core challenge lies in balancing the immediate demands of project delivery with the long-term implications of data quality and the developer's duty to their stakeholders. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves immediate and transparent communication of the identified issue to the project manager and relevant stakeholders. This aligns with professional ethical codes that emphasize honesty, integrity, and the responsibility to report potential problems that could impact the system's reliability and the data it manages. In the context of oracle9i forms development, maintaining data accuracy is paramount. By proactively disclosing the issue, the developer upholds their professional duty to ensure the quality and trustworthiness of the application. This allows for informed decision-making regarding the necessary remediation steps, prioritizing the long-term health of the application and the data it handles over short-term deadline pressures. This approach fosters a culture of accountability and proactive problem-solving. Incorrect approach is analysis. Ignoring the issue and hoping it resolves itself is a direct violation of professional responsibility. It demonstrates a lack of integrity and a disregard for the potential consequences of data corruption, which can erode user trust and lead to significant business problems down the line. This approach fails to uphold the developer's duty to ensure the quality and reliability of their work. Attempting to fix the issue discreetly without informing stakeholders is also professionally unsound. While seemingly well-intentioned, it bypasses established project management protocols and deprives stakeholders of the opportunity to assess the risk and allocate resources appropriately. It can also lead to unintended consequences if the fix is incomplete or introduces new problems. This approach undermines transparency and collaborative problem-solving. Downplaying the severity of the issue to avoid immediate concern is a form of misrepresentation. It violates the principle of honesty and can lead to stakeholders making decisions based on incomplete or inaccurate information. This can result in inadequate resources being allocated for a fix, or the issue being dismissed entirely, leading to greater problems later. Professional reasoning. Professionals in software development, particularly those working with critical data systems like those built with oracle9i forms, must adopt a decision-making process that prioritizes integrity, transparency, and accountability. When faced with a potential issue, the framework should involve 1. Thoroughly understanding the nature and potential impact of the problem. 2. Documenting the findings clearly and objectively. 3. Communicating the issue promptly and transparently to the appropriate project stakeholders, including potential risks and recommended solutions. 4. Collaborating with stakeholders to determine the best course of action, balancing technical feasibility, project timelines, and business impact. 5. Implementing the agreed-upon solution with diligence and thorough testing. This process ensures that decisions are made with complete information, and that the developer acts as a responsible steward of the project and its data. Question 12. Benchmark analysis indicates a potential performance bottleneck within an oracle9i forms application that processes sensitive customer financial data. As the developer responsible for this application, you need to identify and resolve the issue. You have access to the application's source code and the database. What is the most ethically sound and professionally responsible approach to diagnose and fix this performance problem? Option A. Directly query and analyze the sensitive customer financial data within the forms application to pinpoint the exact cause of the performance degradation. Option B. Develop test cases that mimic the production environment's data structure and volume, using anonymized or synthetic data, and then use Oracle's performance tuning tools to analyze the application's behavior without accessing live sensitive data. Option C. Ignore the performance issue, assuming it is a minor inconvenience that will not significantly impact users. Option D. Share anonymized snippets of the sensitive customer financial data with a colleague outside the immediate project team to get their opinion on the performance issue. The correct answer is A. Directly query and analyze the sensitive customer financial data within the forms application to pinpoint the exact cause of the performance degradation. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a professional challenge rooted in the ethical obligation to maintain data integrity and user privacy within the context of oracle9i forms development. The developer is privy to sensitive information that, if misused or improperly handled, could lead to significant breaches of trust and potential legal ramifications. The challenge lies in balancing the need to address a potential performance issue with the imperative to protect confidential data and adhere to development best practices. The developer must exercise careful judgment to avoid actions that could be construed as unauthorized access or manipulation of sensitive data, even if the intent is benign. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a systematic and documented process of identifying and resolving the performance issue without directly accessing or exposing sensitive data. This aligns with the oracle9i Forms developers' responsibility to build robust and efficient applications while respecting data privacy and security. By focusing on metadata, performance tuning tools, and anonymized testing, the developer upholds professional integrity and adheres to the implicit ethical guidelines of responsible software development. This approach prioritizes the integrity of the application and the security of the data it processes, which are paramount in any development environment. The emphasis on using Oracle's built-in performance analysis tools and creating test cases that mimic production without using live sensitive data is a cornerstone of secure and ethical development practices. Incorrect approaches analysis. One incorrect approach involves directly querying and analyzing the sensitive data within the Forms application to pinpoint the performance bottleneck. This is a significant ethical and regulatory failure because it constitutes unauthorized access and potential exposure of confidential information. Developers are entrusted with building systems, not with becoming data custodians for sensitive client or user data. Such an action violates principles of data privacy and could lead to severe legal consequences, including fines and reputational damage, under any applicable data protection regulations. Another incorrect approach is to ignore the performance issue altogether, assuming it is a minor inconvenience. This represents a failure in professional responsibility and a disregard for user experience and application efficiency. While not directly a data breach, it can lead to user frustration, decreased productivity, and ultimately, a diminished perception of the application's reliability and the developer's competence. Ethically, developers have a duty to deliver functional and performant software. A third incorrect approach involves sharing the sensitive data with external parties or colleagues not directly involved in the resolution of this specific performance issue, even under the guise of seeking help. This is a critical breach of confidentiality and trust. Data privacy regulations strictly govern the sharing of sensitive information, and any unauthorized disclosure can result in severe penalties. Professional developers must maintain strict confidentiality regarding the data they encounter during their work. Professional reasoning. Professionals should approach such situations by first understanding the scope of the problem and the potential impact. They should then consult available documentation and utilize provided tools for performance analysis. If direct data access is deemed necessary, a formal process for obtaining authorization and ensuring data anonymization or secure handling must be followed. In the absence of such authorization, the developer should focus on indirect methods of analysis and problem solving, prioritizing the protection of sensitive information above all else. This decision-making process involves risk assessment, adherence to established protocols, and a commitment to ethical conduct. Question 13. Analysis of a situation where an oracle9i Forms developer needs to test a new feature that requires user interaction data. The developer has access to a production database containing sensitive user information. The pressure is on to deliver the feature quickly. Which of the following approaches best upholds ethical and professional standards in oracle9i Forms development? Option A. Develop the feature using a small, representative subset of the production data without any anonymization to reduce the amount of sensitive data handled. Option B. Utilize the existing production dataset directly for testing, as it provides the most realistic data for feature validation. Option C. Share the production dataset with external consultants to expedite the testing process, assuming they will handle it responsibly. Option D. Create a new, anonymized dataset specifically for testing purposes, ensuring no real user information is exposed. The correct answer is D. Create a new, anonymized dataset specifically for testing purposes, ensuring no real user information is exposed. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a professional challenge rooted in the ethical obligation to maintain data integrity and user privacy within the context of oracle9i Forms development. The developer is privy to sensitive information about user behavior and system performance that, if misused or disclosed inappropriately, could lead to significant reputational damage, legal repercussions, and a breach of trust with both users and the organization. The pressure to deliver a feature quickly, coupled with the temptation to leverage existing, potentially sensitive data, creates an ethical tightrope. Careful judgment is required to balance development efficiency with the paramount importance of data security and privacy. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves developing a new, anonymized dataset specifically for testing purposes. This aligns with best professional practices by prioritizing data privacy and security. Oracle's regulatory framework, as implied by the 1Z0-140 exam's focus on development practices, emphasizes responsible data handling. Creating anonymized data ensures that no real user information is exposed during development or testing, thereby preventing potential privacy violations and adhering to implicit ethical guidelines for data handling in software development. This approach upholds the principle of least privilege and data minimization, crucial for maintaining compliance and trust. Incorrect approach is analysis. Leveraging the existing production dataset without anonymization represents a direct violation of data privacy principles and potentially specific Oracle data handling guidelines or general IT ethical standards. This could lead to unauthorized access to sensitive user information, constituting a significant ethical and regulatory failure. Sharing the production dataset with external consultants without explicit, documented consent and robust security protocols is another severe ethical and regulatory breach. This exposes sensitive data to third parties, increasing the risk of leaks and misuse, and likely contravenes data protection laws and organizational policies. Developing the feature using only a subset of the production data without proper anonymization, even if limited, still carries a risk of inferring individual user behavior. This falls short of the robust privacy measures required and could still lead to unintended disclosures or breaches of confidence, representing a failure to implement adequate safeguards. Professional reasoning. Professionals should employ a decision-making framework that prioritizes ethical considerations and regulatory compliance. This involves 1. Identifying potential risks. Recognize the sensitivity of production data and the implications of its misuse. 2. Consulting policies and guidelines. Refer to organizational data handling policies, privacy regulations, and any relevant Oracle development best practices. 3. Exploring alternatives. Actively seek solutions that mitigate risks, such as data anonymization or synthetic data generation. 4. Documenting decisions. Record the chosen approach and the rationale behind it, ensuring transparency and accountability. 5. Seeking clarification. If unsure, consult with supervisors, legal counsel, or data privacy officers. Question 14. The control framework reveals that a critical oracle9i forms application is experiencing performance degradation during data retrieval and processing. To address this, the development team needs to implement process optimization techniques that leverage the specific advancements available in oracle9i forms. Which of the following approaches best aligns with optimizing the form's performance while adhering to the principles of efficient Oracle development? Option A. Refactoring critical PL/SQL blocks to utilize oracle9i forms' enhanced trigger capabilities and built-in functions for more efficient data manipulation and validation. Option B. Implementing complex caching mechanisms without first profiling the application to identify actual performance bottlenecks. Option C. Manually rewriting sections of the form's logic in a lower-level language to gain finer control over execution, bypassing standard Oracle forms processing. Option D. Introducing custom Java applets to handle data processing, adding external dependencies, and increasing the overall complexity of the form. The correct answer is A. Refactoring critical PL/SQL blocks to utilize oracle9i forms' enhanced trigger capabilities and built-in functions for more efficient data manipulation and validation. Explanation. The scenario presents a common challenge in software development: optimizing process efficiency without compromising data integrity or adherence to established development standards. The professional challenge lies in balancing the desire for speed with the need for robust, maintainable, and compliant code. Careful judgment is required to select optimization techniques that align with the specific constraints and best practices of oracle9i forms development. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it directly addresses process optimization by leveraging features introduced in oracle9i forms that are designed for this purpose, such as improved triggers and built-in functions. This aligns with the exam's focus on new features and implies a commitment to using the most efficient and modern tools available within the oracle9i Forms environment. Adhering to these features ensures that the optimization is not a superficial change, but a fundamental improvement in how the form processes data, leading to better performance and maintainability. This approach is ethically sound as it prioritizes delivering a high-quality, efficient product to the end user and stakeholders, adhering to the implied standards of professional Oracle development. An incorrect approach that focuses on manual, low-level code manipulation without considering the specific advantages of oracle9i Forms features would be professionally unacceptable. This could lead to code that is harder to read, debug, and maintain, potentially introducing errors and negating any perceived performance gains. It also fails to leverage the new features aspect of the exam, suggesting a lack of up-to-date knowledge. Ethically, this approach could be seen as inefficient and potentially wasteful of development resources if more effective, built-in solutions exist. Another incorrect approach might involve prematurely optimizing critical sections of code without proper profiling. This is a common pitfall in software engineering. It can lead to wasted effort on parts of the application that are not actually performance bottlenecks, while neglecting areas that truly need optimization. This is professionally unsound as it deviates from a data-driven, evidence-based approach to optimization, potentially leading to suboptimal results and missed opportunities for genuine improvement. A further incorrect approach could be to implement optimizations that introduce unnecessary complexity or dependencies on external libraries not standard to oracle9i Forms. This increases the risk of introducing bugs, makes the form harder to deploy and manage, and violates the principle of using the most straightforward and integrated solutions. Professionally, this demonstrates a lack of understanding of the Oracle Forms development ecosystem and can lead to long-term maintenance issues. The professional reasoning process for similar situations should involve 1. Understanding the specific performance bottlenecks through profiling and analysis. 2. Identifying relevant new features or best practices within the oracle9i Forms framework that address these bottlenecks. 3. Implementing optimizations using these identified features, prioritizing clarity and maintainability. 4. Thoroughly testing the optimized code to ensure correctness and measure performance improvements. 5. Documenting the changes and the rationale behind them. Question 15. System analysis indicates that a critical oracle9i Forms application is experiencing performance degradation during data retrieval and processing, impacting user productivity. The development team is tasked with optimizing these processes using features introduced or enhanced in oracle9i Forms. Which of the following strategies best aligns with the process optimization topic as defined by the 1Z0-140 oracle9i Forms developer? New features exam syllabus. Option A. Implementing PL/SQL packages with optimized SQL queries and leveraging oracle9i Forms built-in triggers and event handling for efficient data manipulation. Option B. Recommending a complete redesign of the database schema to normalize all tables and reduce data redundancy. Option C. Migrating the application to a newer Oracle Forms version to take advantage of its advanced performance features. Option D. Tuning the underlying Oracle database parameters for faster I/O operations and query execution plans. The correct answer is A. Implementing PL/SQL packages with optimized SQL queries and leveraging oracle9i Forms built-in triggers and event handling for efficient data manipulation. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge in optimizing the performance of oracle9i Forms applications, specifically concerning process optimization. The challenge lies in balancing the need for improved user experience and system responsiveness with the constraints of the existing oracle9i Forms environment and the specific requirements of the 1Z0-140 exam syllabus. Adhering strictly to the exam's defined scope is paramount, as deviating would render the answer invalid for the certification. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it directly addresses the exam's focus on new features within oracle9i Forms for process optimization. This implies leveraging functionalities introduced or significantly enhanced in oracle9i Forms that are designed to streamline operations, reduce processing time, and improve overall application efficiency. By focusing on these specific features, A developer demonstrates mastery of the exam's intended learning objectives, which is the ethical and professional standard for achieving certification. This aligns with the principle of demonstrating competence in the specified technology stack. An incorrect approach that focuses on general database tuning techniques not specific to oracle9i forms features would be professionally unacceptable. This is because the 1Z0-140 exam is about forms development, not broad Oracle database administration. Such an approach fails to demonstrate knowledge of the specific tools and techniques available within oracle9i forms for process optimization, thus not meeting the certification's requirements. It represents a failure to adhere to the scope of the examination, which is an ethical breach in the context of professional certification. Another incorrect approach might involve implementing solutions that are only compatible with later versions of Oracle forms or entirely different technologies. This is professionally unacceptable, as it demonstrates a lack of understanding of the specific oracle9i forms environment targeted by the exam. It would be akin to answering a question about a specific historical event using information from a different era, fundamentally misrepresenting the required knowledge. The professional decision-making process for similar situations involves a rigorous understanding of the examination's syllabus and objectives. Before attempting to solve a problem or answer a question, a professional should 1. Clearly define the scope of the problem and the relevant technology stack. 2. Identify the specific learning objectives or requirements of the task at hand, in this case, the 1Z0-140 exam syllabus. 3. Evaluate potential solutions based on their direct applicability and effectiveness within the defined scope. 4. Prioritize solutions that leverage the specific features or functionalities highlighted by the examination. 5. Avoid solutions that rely on external technologies, later version, or general principles not explicitly covered by the examination's curriculum. Question 16. Research into optimizing the execution speed of complex data retrieval and display within an oracle9i forms application, focusing on techniques that leverage the new features introduced in the 1Z0-140 syllabus for process optimization. Which of the following strategies best aligns with the principles of efficient development within this specific oracle9i forms context? Option A. Relying solely on general Oracle database indexing strategies without considering specific oracle9i forms features for client-server interaction. Option B. Implementing advanced PL/SQL coding techniques and utilizing oracle9i forms built-in performance enhancements for data manipulation and retrieval. Option C. Introducing external caching mechanisms and middleware solutions not directly related to oracle9i forms' native capabilities. Option D. Migrating the application to a newer Oracle database version and redesigning the forms using a different development tool. The correct answer is B. Implementing advanced PL/SQL coding techniques and utilizing oracle9i forms built-in performance enhancements for data manipulation and retrieval. Explanation. This scenario presents a common challenge in software development, optimizing the performance of existing applications to meet evolving user demands and system constraints. The professional challenge lies in balancing the desire for improved performance with the need to adhere to established development practices and the specific capabilities of the oracle9i forms environment. Developers must consider not only the technical feasibility of optimizations, but also their impact on maintainability, scalability, and adherence to the oracle9i forms developers' new features syllabus, which is the sole regulatory framework for this question. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it directly addresses the process optimization topic within the context of oracle9i forms' new features. It focuses on leveraging specific functionalities introduced or enhanced in oracle9i forms that are designed to improve performance, such as optimized PL/SQL execution, improved client-server communication, or enhanced data fetching mechanisms. Adhering to the exam's syllabus ensures that the developer is applying relevant and sanctioned techniques, thereby demonstrating mastery of the specified technology and its intended use. This aligns with the implicit ethical obligation to deliver solutions that are both effective and built upon a solid understanding of the platform's capabilities. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on general database tuning without considering the specific features of Oracle 9i forms would be professionally unacceptable. This is because the exam's jurisdiction is strictly limited to the 1Z0-140 Oracle 9i forms developer new features syllabus. Applying techniques not covered or implied by this syllabus, even if they are valid for general Oracle database administration, falls outside the defined scope and therefore represents a failure to adhere to the examination's regulatory framework. Similarly, an approach that involves significant architectural changes or the introduction of external tools not supported by Oracle 9i forms would also be a failure, as it deviates from the established technology stack and the new features intended for optimization within that stack. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should begin with a thorough understanding of the specific technological constraints and the defined scope of the project or examination. In this case, the scope is strictly the Oracle 9i forms new features. Developers should then identify potential optimization areas within that scope, prioritizing solutions that directly leverage the new features designed for process optimization. Evaluating each potential solution against the syllabus's coverage and its impact on the overall application architecture and maintainability is crucial. This systematic approach ensures that solutions are not only technically sound, but also compliant with the governing framework. Question 17. Compliance review shows that a new Oracle 9i forms feature, designed to enhance user data input efficiency, has been developed without a formal security assessment of the code and its interaction with the database. The development team is pushing for immediate deployment to meet a business deadline. What is the most professional and compliant course of action? Option A. Proceed with deployment immediately to meet the business deadline, assuming the underlying database security measures are sufficient. Option B. Deploy the feature and plan to address any security issues that arise after the initial release. Option C. Delay deployment and conduct a thorough security review, including vulnerability testing, to identify and remediate any potential security risks before releasing the feature. Option D. Deploy the feature only to a limited group of internal users for initial testing, without a formal security review, to gather feedback on functionality. The correct answer is A. Proceed with deployment immediately to meet the business deadline, assuming the underlying database security measures are sufficient. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge in software development where a new feature, while functionally beneficial, introduces potential security vulnerabilities. The professional challenge lies in balancing the desire to deliver new functionality with the imperative to protect sensitive data and maintain system integrity. The pressure to release features quickly can sometimes lead to overlooking critical security considerations, making careful judgment and adherence to established protocols paramount. The Oracle 9i forms developer context implies working with established database and application development practices of that era, where security was a growing concern, but perhaps not as deeply integrated into the development lifecycle as it is today. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a thorough security assessment and remediation process before deployment. This aligns with best professional practices for software development, emphasizing a proactive rather than reactive stance on security. Specifically, in the context of Oracle 9i forms, this would involve 1. Identifying potential vulnerabilities introduced by the new feature, such as SQL injection risks, improper data handling, or unauthorized access points. 2. Consulting Oracle's security documentation and best practices for Oracle 9i, which would outline recommended security configurations and coding standards. 3. Implementing necessary security controls, which might include input validation, parameterized queries, role-based access control within the form's application, and appropriate database privileges. 4. Conducting rigorous security testing, including penetration testing and vulnerability scanning, to confirm that the implemented controls are effective. This approach ensures that the new feature is not only functional but also secure, thereby protecting the application and its data from potential breaches. It reflects a commitment to responsible development and adherence to implicit professional standards of care in handling sensitive information. Incorrect approaches analysis. Deploying the feature without a security review introduces significant regulatory and ethical risks. If the jurisdiction implies adherence to data protection regulations, even if not explicitly stated for 1Z0-140, general professional practice dictates this. Any breach resulting from known vulnerabilities could lead to legal repercussions, fines, and reputational damage. An approach that prioritizes immediate deployment over security testing fails to uphold the professional responsibility to deliver secure and reliable software. It demonstrates a disregard for potential harm to users and the organization. Ignoring the security implications because the feature is internal is also a failure. Internal systems can still be targets for malicious actors, and compromised internal systems can provide a gateway to more sensitive external data. Furthermore, it violates the principle of least privilege and robust security posture. Relying solely on database-level security without considering application-level vulnerabilities is insufficient. While database security is crucial, application code can introduce its own weaknesses that bypass database protections. Professional reasoning. Professionals should adopt a risk-based approach to development. Before implementing any new feature, especially one that interacts with data, a preliminary risk assessment should be conducted. This assessment should identify potential security threats and vulnerabilities. The development process should then incorporate security considerations from the design phase through to testing and deployment. This includes following secure coding guidelines, performing regular code reviews with a security focus, and conducting comprehensive security testing. When faced with a conflict between rapid deployment and security, the professional decision-making process should prioritize security, as the long-term consequences of a security breach far outweigh the short-term benefits of a faster release. Consulting relevant Oracle documentation and security advisories for the specific version being used is a critical step in this process. Question 18. The efficiency study reveals that a significant portion of the development team's time on the oracle9i forms project is spent on manual data validation within the forms themselves, rather than leveraging more robust, centralized validation mechanisms. Which of the following approaches best addresses this inefficiency while adhering to best practices for oracle9i forms development? Option A. Add more complex, form-specific PL/SQL code directly within the whenValidateItem trigger of each individual form to handle all validation rules. Option B. Ignore the efficiency study's findings and continue with the current manual, form-specific validation methods to avoid disrupting existing workflows. Option C. Implement reusable PL/SQL libraries or database triggers for centralized data validation logic, and refactor existing forms to call these centralized routines. Option D. Propose an immediate, complete rewrite of the entire application using a modern web framework to bypass the perceived limitations of oracle9i forms. The correct answer is C. Implement reusable PL/SQL libraries or database triggers for centralized data validation logic, and refactor existing forms to call these centralized routines. Explanation. The efficiency study reveals that a significant portion of the development team's time on the oracle9i forms project is spent on manual data validation within the forms themselves, rather than leveraging more robust, centralized validation mechanisms. This scenario is professionally challenging because it directly impacts project timelines, resource allocation, and the overall quality and maintainability of the application. Developers are spending valuable time on repetitive tasks that could be automated or handled more efficiently, leading to potential burnout and a higher risk of introducing inconsistencies. Careful judgment is required to balance immediate fixes with long-term architectural improvements. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes the use of oracle9i forms built-in features for efficient and centralized data validation. Specifically, leveraging database constraints and PL/SQL triggers at the database level, or using form-level validation libraries and reusable PL/SQL packages, ensures that validation logic is applied consistently across all forms and is managed in a single, maintainable location. This aligns with the principles of good software design, promoting reusability, reducing redundancy, and enhancing data integrity. From a regulatory perspective, while oracle9i forms itself doesn't have explicit regulations in the same vein as financial services, adherence to best practices in data integrity and application robustness is implicitly expected to ensure the application functions as intended and meets business requirements, which can have downstream compliance implications. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on adding more complex PL/SQL code directly within the when validate item trigger of each individual form is professionally unacceptable. This leads to code duplication, making maintenance a nightmare. If a validation rule needs to change, it must be updated in every single form where it's implemented, drastically increasing the risk of errors and inconsistencies. This violates the principle of don't repeat yourself, dry, and creates technical debt. Another incorrect approach, which is to ignore the efficiency study's findings and continue with the current manual, form-specific validation methods, is also professionally unacceptable. This demonstrates a lack of responsiveness to performance issues and a disregard for team productivity. It perpetuates inefficiencies, increases the likelihood of data errors, and ultimately leads to a less robust and more costly application to maintain in the long run. This can be seen as a failure to uphold professional responsibility for delivering high-quality software. A third incorrect approach might be to suggest a complete rewrite of the application using a newer technology stack, without first addressing the immediate validation inefficiencies. While a rewrite might be a long-term consideration, failing to address current, solvable problems within the existing oracle9i forms environment is a misallocation of resources and a failure to provide incremental value. It bypasses opportunities to improve the current system and might be seen as an avoidance of the core problem. The professional reasoning process for similar situations should involve 1. Understanding the core problem. Identify the root cause of the inefficiency or issue. 2. Evaluating available tools and features. Determine how existing technologies and their specific features can address the problem. 3. Prioritizing solutions. Balance immediate fixes with long-term architectural goals. 4. Considering maintainability and scalability. Choose solutions that promote ease of maintenance and future growth. 5. Consulting best practices. Adhere to established software development principles. 6. Communicating findings and recommendations. Clearly articulate the rationale behind the chosen approach to stakeholders. Question 19. Which approach would be most appropriate for an Oracle Forms developer preparing for the 1Z0-140 oracle9i Forms developer? New features exam when tasked with demonstrating proficiency in the new functionalities introduced in oracle9i Forms. Option A. Focus solely on optimizing the performance of existing Oracle Forms applications using established best practices, without necessarily incorporating the specific new features of oracle9i. Option B. Prioritize the implementation of advanced PL/SQL techniques that were prevalent in earlier Oracle Forms versions, as these are often foundational to understanding newer features. Option C. Explore and integrate features from later Oracle Forms versions, such as Oracle Forms 10G, to showcase a broader understanding of the Oracle Forms product lifecycle. Option D. Thoroughly research and implement all new features introduced in oracle9i Forms, focusing on their practical application and integration within typical application scenarios as outlined by the exam objectives. The correct answer is D. Thoroughly research and implement all new features introduced in oracle9i Forms, focusing on their practical application and integration within typical application scenarios as outlined by the exam objectives. Explanation. The scenario presents a common challenge for Oracle Forms developers, integrating new features from a later version, oracle9i Forms, into an existing application while ensuring compliance with the specific development guidelines and best practices mandated for the 1Z0-140 certification exam. The challenge lies in balancing the adoption of modern functionalities with the constraints and expectations of the exam's defined regulatory framework, which implicitly governs acceptable development practices for the purpose of assessment. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes understanding and adhering to the explicit and implicit requirements of the 1Z0-140 oracle9i Forms developer. New features exam syllabus. This involves focusing on the new features introduced in oracle9i Forms and how they can be effectively and correctly implemented within the context of the exam scope. This ensures that the developer demonstrates mastery of the specified curriculum, which is the primary objective of the certification. It aligns with the professional responsibility to develop solutions that meet defined standards and are verifiable against those standards, as is the case with certification exams. An incorrect approach that focuses on features or methodologies outside the scope of oracle9i Forms or the 1Z0-140 syllabus, would represent a failure to meet the core requirements of the exam. This is a regulatory failure in the context of the exam's jurisdiction, as it demonstrates a lack of understanding of the specific knowledge base being tested. For instance, implementing features from Oracle Forms 10G or later, or relying on PL/SQL constructs not covered as new features in oracle9i, would be a direct violation of the exam scope. Another incorrect approach might be to ignore the new features aspect entirely and focus only on legacy Oracle Forms development practices. This would be an ethical failure in the context of the exam, as it misrepresents the developer's preparedness for the specific new features component of the certification. It fails to demonstrate the required competency in the designated area. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a rigorous review of the examination syllabus and any associated documentation. Developers must identify the precise scope of the technology and features covered. When faced with a development task that could be approached in multiple ways, the professional should always first consider which approach best aligns with the defined requirements and constraints of the project or, in this case, the certification. This involves asking, does this approach demonstrate the specific skills and knowledge the certification aims to validate? If the answer is uncertain, further investigation into the syllabus and exam objectives is paramount. Question 20. The review process indicates that a newly implemented data validation rule for a critical customer field in an oracle9i form is not providing adequate feedback to the end user, leading to confusion and repeated incorrect entries. The validation logic itself is correctly preventing invalid data from being saved, but users are struggling to understand why their entries are being rejected. Which of the following approaches best addresses this situation while adhering to professional Oracle Forms development practices? Option A. Place the validation logic within the WhenAnyW item instance trigger to ensure it is checked every time the user navigates to the field. Option B. Implement the validation logic within a WhenValidateItem trigger and use the message built-in to display a user-friendly error message explaining the validation rule and how to correct the entry. Option C. Implement the validation logic within a WhenValidateItem trigger, but do not display any specific error message, allowing the default form's error handling to manage the situation. Option D. Remove the client-side validation and rely solely on database constraints to enforce data integrity, assuming users will eventually learn the correct format through trial and error. The correct answer is B. Implement the validation logic within a WhenValidateItem trigger and use the message built-in to display a user-friendly error message explaining the validation rule and how to correct the entry. Explanation. The review process indicates a potential issue with the implementation of a new feature in oracle9i forms, specifically concerning the handling of data validation and user feedback. The challenge lies in balancing the need for robust data integrity with a positive user experience, especially when introducing new validation rules. Developers must ensure that validation logic is not only technically sound, but also clearly communicated to the end user, preventing frustration and data entry errors. Adhering to Oracle's best practices for forms development, as implied by the exam scope, is paramount. The correct approach involves implementing a validation trigger that fires at the appropriate point in the form's lifecycle, such as when a field loses focus or when the user attempts to commit the record. This trigger should contain the validation logic, and if validation fails, display a clear, user-friendly error message using the message built-in. This ensures that the user is immediately informed of the issue and guided on how to correct it, maintaining data integrity without causing undue disruption. This aligns with principles of good UI/UX design and efficient data management, which are implicitly expected in professional Oracle Forms development. An incorrect approach would be to implement validation solely within the WhenValidateItem trigger without providing clear user feedback. This would lead to data being rejected silently or with cryptic error codes, frustrating users and making it difficult to identify and correct errors. This failure to provide adequate user feedback is a significant professional and potentially regulatory oversight, as it hinders the effective use of the application and can lead to data quality issues. Another incorrect approach is to implement complex validation logic directly in the WhenAnyW item instance trigger. This trigger is intended for item-specific initialization and not for validation. Placing validation here would not only be technically incorrect, but would also lead to performance issues and unpredictable behavior, as the validation would fire every time the item gains focus, regardless of whether the user is attempting to commit data. This demonstrates a lack of understanding of forms event models and professional development standards. A third incorrect approach is to rely solely on database constraints for validation without any client-side feedback in the form. While database constraints are crucial for data integrity, they provide no immediate feedback to the user within the form. If a record fails to commit due to a database constraint, the user receives a generic database error, which is unhelpful and can lead to confusion. This approach neglects the user interface aspect of validation and is professionally suboptimal. The professional decision-making process for similar situations involves understanding the user's workflow, the application's data integrity requirements, and the capabilities of the development tool. Developers should prioritize validation that occurs at the earliest practical point in the user interaction, provide clear and actionable feedback, and leverage the appropriate forms, triggers, and built-in functions to achieve both data integrity and a positive user experience.